Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for the Deuce Season 2, Episode 2. Alright, so I checked this one out last night because the Emmys were on, right? So the Emmys were on. I didn't get to catch it Sunday night, so I watched it last night after the Emmys were on. Glad I did. I thought it was a really great episode this week again. I thought the premiere was good in the fact that they just did such a good job. Like, not as necessary just an episode, but as a premiere episode, I thought it was very, very good, especially with the time jump, right? So they had to explain a few things, and they did a really good job in doing that. So that was really great. And this, I would say the beginning of this episode was kind of a continuation of that, showing us a little bit more of what kind of happened in that time, right? But then they also pick up right away on things from last episode. So yeah, and which is like the new things that are happening now. So yeah, there was some really great stuff in this episode. I'm gonna go over a little bit of a recap here. Then give my rating of the episode, favorite character, and then some more overall thoughts of the episode, of course. But yeah, like I said, I thought it was a great episode. Honestly, I thought it was good. I would say. In terms of an episode, I would say it's better than the premiere. But again, it was a premiere episode, and that's kind of what it was designed as. So that's a little bit different judging. Has to go into that. But anyways, so David Simon, George Pelicanos giving us another great season of The Deuce. I'm loving it so far. Anyways, so thanks for watching this review. And share your thoughts of the episode down below. Share your thoughts. What do you think the season is going to be like? Where do you think they're going to take this? And we know that I don't think have they been formally renewed yet? I'm not sure if they've been formally renewed yet for Season 3, but I think it's kind of a given that we're going to get a Season 3 here. And so what do you think is going to, transpire in the future of this series? So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But anyways, let's get into the recap now without any further ado. So, we start this one with Frankie. He gets all the glass panels removed in those booths at this, I don't know. So, I get confused. So, I call the thing that Bobby owns the Emporium, right? Kind of like the sex Emporium. But then the thing that Frankie owns, I forget what they called it in Season 1. I just call it the place with the booths, right? Because that's, that's what it looks like, right? Like that's, physically what it is. But I feel like there is a name for it. I just am forgetting it. Or maybe that's the Emporium and the thing that Bobby owns is different. I don't know. Anyway, so he basically removes all these panels in the booth, which is exactly what we left off of on last episode with Tommy Longo showing Vincent that sort of trick, right, and showing him how genius it is. So I'm guessing that Tommy Longo and Rudy inspired this, right, and told Vincent to do this. And so Frankie, of course, is kind of in charge of the place, so he's, listening to Vincent, I would assume, and Rudy, overarching him and following their kind of their wants, right? Their suggestions. So anyways, but the girls are not happy, as we see, right? Because it's going to make, it lets the men touch them, right? Even though the one slit was already open and they I guess knew that the men were touching them. So I don't, are they just, maybe some of them didn't know that? So, okay, fair. But I thought that most of them would know that by now. So I'm not sure if this is, something really new to them. I don't know. Anyways, but they're not too happy. And you totally understand why, right? That's not what they signed up for. The one girl says, I signed up for, a show, not a touch. You know what I mean? And so that's not what they signed up for. They're not really comfortable with it. And Frankie's kind of given the role of kind of breaking the bad news to them and trying to convince them that it'll be okay. Right, so yeah, the girls are not happy, but the main thing is it's going to make them a lot more money, right? Because the men are going to be able to tip them then instead of them, just getting the profits from the quarters that are going into the machine, right? So is what it is. But I did think that this was important when Frankie said, don't do this if a cop comes in, right? Or like, if you hear a cop or whatever, ring that or push the button or whatever, because obviously this is not legal, right? This is against the law to not have that glass there. That's what this place is, and that's what, it's known as. and now they're taking this glass panel out, which makes it a whole different experience, and a whole different thing under the law. And so that's why they don't want any cops interfering with it. And I did feel like that was an important part of that. Then we get a sequence here with Paul, and he had a pretty big part in this episode, actually. We saw him briefly, I think, in last episode. And in this episode, it actually kind of, a couple sequences here set up kind of maybe his story going forward in season 2 here. So anyways, so we get him and his boyfriend or his partner, and they're going to look at locations, right? So property, I guess, or at least, places that they can buy to put up a club, right? Or to put in a bar or whatever, right? And so essentially they want to get out, and we did see this conversation happen last episode. I'm not sure if I mentioned in the recap or not, but they did have this conversation last episode where his partner and him agreeing as well, but his partner brought up that they should be, getting out from under the mob, right? Because they're starting to make, their own money, and they're starting to be successful on their own, and so they should be able, to get out from under the mob and make a go of it by themselves, right? So I think this is just a continuation of that conversation where they're actually now looking at locations that they can, set up and do. But I think kind of where this ends, this scene ends, is when the agent is saying, I'm going to need $20,000, down on this on this location, right? And I think that's a big now, again, 70s, I'm not too familiar with how much things really cost then, but I'm guessing that's quite a bit of money, especially for Paul. Well, I'm not sure how many years now he's been in charge of his bar. Maybe, I guess, since the season 1 where we left off. So yeah, so maybe about 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years that he's been in charge now. But, has he made that much money, especially because he's still paying the mob, right? Like, it's not like he's making all the profits. So, so I'm guessing at that point he, when he heard, $20,000 down, that was just another thing, kind of discouraging because they don't have that yet. So anyways, but I think, he's more and more considering this, right? Getting away from Rudy, and that, or at least that mob, right? Because now this other guy that comes in later, I think he is the mob too. It's just kind of a different, section of it. But anyways, so great to see that for Paul. How well that'll go and how well it'll go for him to get out from Rudy, I don't know, right? That's another question. So then we see that Laurie gets nominated for supporting actress in the adult films, and I believe it was Harvey who got nominated for Best Director. I thought at first they were talking about Candy, but no, I think it was Harvey that got nominated for Best Director for the adult films, and I was just surprised that there was already awards for these films going on, and there's actually like a whole, I'm not sure if it was an award show, but it was at least a gathering that Laurie's talking about in LA happening. So even at this point in time, and I think the porn industry is pretty new at this point, and well, at least in New York, right? And so, or at least like the movie industry, right? So this is, I think, pretty new, right? All this, these awards and everything is pretty new. At least, from maybe the beginning of season 1, right? No earlier than that probably. So yeah, so this was really interesting. So Laurie gets nominated, and we knew that she was kind of gaining a little bit of popularity. She was kind of becoming this star a little bit. I talked about that in last episode's recap. And so, yeah, so this makes sense, right? That she would get this nomination for supporting actress. I'm not sure how many people or how many women, I guess, got nominated for this, but, it's still a great accomplishment. So it's kind of crazy. And then also, so right before this, Candy's talking all about to Harvey about how she's kind of mad about what he's given her and how she kind of wants more, right? She wants to expand. She wants to put more money into this. And Harvey just wants to stay in his situation. He doesn't want to get bigger, and do that type of stuff, right? He doesn't want to spend the money. And so they have a little bit of a disagreement over that, but it seems like everything's kind of okay, at least in that moment, once, they learn about Harvey getting the award, he doesn't get the award yet, but he gets nominated for the award, and then Laurie gets nominated for the award, so at least they know they're doing something right, and this kind of also vindicates Harvey's argument too, because, well, he's getting nominated for this award, I mean, why should he change, right? So, anyways, but that was just kind of a cool thing, and it did come back a little bit with Laurie. Harvey didn't really talk about it again, but yeah, so that was just kind of cool. Cool to see that there's already awards and everything that's going on here, and there's already a community building, you see, because Laurie's talking to that other girl on set as well, and she's saying how she got nominated for lead actress, right? And she's all in this and everything like that. She's going on interviews, so it's really becoming a popular thing, right? And so we're seeing that as the season plays out for sure, or just even as these last two episodes played out. So yeah, then we see Abby and Vincent go out for the night. And then they stay over, right? So they take a break from the two clubs. So the Hi Hat for Abby, and I'm not sure what the name of Vincent's new place is, but his new place, his like loft, secret kind of club there. Yeah, so they take a break from both of the clubs and they kind of take a night off for themselves, which I think was Vincent's idea. And it was just really nice to see the interaction between the two. I like that they did this. They switched it up a little bit in this episode. And it seemed like a much needed night off, or at least a break for the both of them. And like I said, it was just really nice to see these two kind of interacting with each other, and Vincent showing her around his old town where he grew up and stuff. So that was really great. The only thing is, because they don't do a lot of this where they kind of go to a brand new location, everything's kind of within that, same area, is I just feel like this pier, the people in it, in the background, the clothing and everything, yes, it did look accurate. I just thought the pier didn't look and have that same feel that all the other areas do. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit out of place. Those couple of scenes there where they're walking down that pier and on the beach. I don't know. I don't know. I think, like, it was fine. I think it's believable, but it was just a little bit different atmosphere and different. It just looked different on screen. So, I don't know. That would have been my kind of only complaint with that, but it was a really great sequence to see these two kind of bonding and being able to take that night off. But it also shows how important they are as well, right? Because taking a night off is like huge. Abby's like, what? Like, he got really surprised that Vincent's, suggesting this even. So it really shows, how much they mean and how much their job is important, or how important their job is, right now. So yeah. Anyways, then we see Candy having lunch with her son. This was one of my favorite scenes of the episode, honestly, because it was really evident that time has passed, right? I think this is probably the first moment where, well, maybe Harvey being, 100 pounds lighter. But anyways, I think this was one of the first scenes that in the first two episodes here that we've actually like really noticed that time has really passed here. And that's because her son is pretty grown up. I mean, he does swear in this scene, and I don't know, I'm guessing that he's like maybe grade 8, grade 9, somewhere around there. I don't know. Again, I don't know how the whole school, school system worked, and what grade people usually went up to and that stuff in this time. So I'm not sure about that, but that's how old I would say he was. Maybe 14, maybe 12 even still. I don't know. Anyway, so time has passed because in season 1 he was, kind of a little guy, a little kid, and now he's, grown up. So not fully, but he's definitely bigger, and his voice a little deeper. So, anyways, it's just kind of a nice scene, kind of uplifting scene here with Candy, but it also shows the relationship that she has, and also shows how hard these relationships are, especially with her working on porn sets now. She's like acting in it, she's directing it and all this and producing it, but she still has to have a normal life and interact with her son. So, and I really did like the point where her son actually brought up something about, going to the movies with his friends. And you just see that, like, little look on Candy's face in that scene. It's, when he brings up movies, right? Because her movies are obviously a lot different than what he thinks the movies are and everything like that. So it's really great to see this interaction when you get these characters kind of interacting with characters who aren't involved in this kind of, porn, industry in this world now. And it's really great. So anyway, so she talks about getting a 2-bedroom apartment, I assume, or, a place where she has room for him pretty much, right? So that they can stay together, because she says she's making more money now. And so she should be able to afford it soon. And she is really trying to do it. So, I don't know how legitimate that is, how soon it might be. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Especially, I obviously I don't think I don't think he knows what she does, or at least he doesn't know the full extent of it, which I don't blame Candy for not telling him, obviously. But yeah, I don't think he knows the extent of what she does, so it might be a little difficult living together like that, and going off to work and stuff like that. But anyways, it is what it is. I really did like that scene with her and her son there. That was really great. So and Meg Gyllenhaal is amazing, amazing, and she was really great in this episode. So yeah, so hopefully she makes some more money and she can do that. She can buy this 2-bedroom apartment and look after her son, and they can live together. So that would be really great for her. So we see that this is kind of a funny scene, I guess, but things already go wrong with whoever plan it was to remove the glass little slits there, right? But ultimately, Frankie's going to be held responsible because he's the one who did it. Anyway, so something already goes wrong. So essentially, this man leaves a scratch on one of the girls, which is kind of nasty. And then he's like, "Oh, well, you must have had some long fingernails." Anyway, so I guess he scratches one of the girls through this glass slit, right? And so she traps his arm in the slit, so she puts the thing down right on his arm, and it's holding his arm down. He can't get his arm out of the slit, right? And so anyway, so Frankie ends up working it out, gets the man's arm out, right? And he's freaking out. He's like, "I'm going to the cops," and all this stuff. So we'll have to see if he actually does. I doubt that he will, because, how is he going to go to the cops after, he just, scratched her and was reaching through the glass and whatever, which is illegal anyway. So, I don't think he's going to the cops. He was just, trying to, piss off Frankie there, and kind of get back at him for leaving him there with his arm in the slit there. But anyways, just kind of showing already the consequences of that, and obviously the girls probably not going to be as happy anymore, right? Especially because this has now happened. They weren't happy at first, and now something has already happened that they kind of predicted, so they're not going to be very happy. So Frankie is kind of in a tough place right now, trying to get the girls on board, which is going to be tough. So then we see Bobby. So he has kind of a curious storyline so far in this season. I'm not sure where they're going to take him as a character. So obviously, he's in charge of the Emporium still, and he gets home from work and is greeted by one of the girls from the Emporium, I believe. I believe that this is the same girl from, season 1, who was in that Emporium, or at least last episode. I believe. And she's holding his kid. So I was just really kind of confused at this. If you guys know, please let me know, more about this. But anyway, so she's holding his kid, I assume, and it's a baby too. And I'm just did they have the kid together? Is she looking after the kid? Did he get her pregnant? So I'm just really confused here. And at this moment, I'm like, okay, well, so he's moved out, I guess, and he split up from his wife, I guess, right? And that we met in season 1. He had a family, right? He had kids and a wife. Everything was going on, and now he has this baby with this girl from the Emporium. But no, he's still with his wife and his family, because he goes home later on in the episode that we see, and we see him get home, and he still lives there. So just a kind of a curious little thing going on here. Obviously, Bobby's wife probably doesn't know about it. Definitely doesn't know about it, of course. So I guess he's kind of having an affair here. We knew he was having an affair with, multiple of these girls. But yeah, so I don't know. Apparently he has a kid with this one girl. So anyways, very bad relationship with his wife and his kids, though, as we just see. He walks in the door, and all of a sudden his wife is kind of yelling at him and saying, you missed taking the kid to the dentist and all this stuff. And he just doesn't seem to care. He just walks away. So obviously we know that relationship is pretty torn between them. And again, I don't know where they're going to be taking Bobby as this season goes on. I can't predict it right now. I have no idea. I'm not sure if he'll die in this season. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways. So this was just kind of an interesting thing that I thought for sure, meant a lot for this episode. And what's going to happen with him in the future, right? Is he going to eventually leave his wife? It is what it is. So then, so this was a random scene, and I didn't expect this at all. I thought it was just worth mentioning for the recap here. So Larry like the pimp Larry asks Candy to act in one of her next films. And it was like kind of an awkward conversation because Candy did not expect it either, right? And Larry's like trying to lead her to it, and without actually saying it, right? He's like, have you ever hired a brother or something like that, right? I could be in it and stuff like this, right? And she's like, what? Like you? So she was surprised, and she says, which I thought was actually a very good point. She says, you guys are all, you pimps, right, are all about control, right? And on set, you don't have control. You got to listen to the director. You got to do, you got to show this, right? And I don't know word for word. But anyway, so she's like, well, you got to give up all your control if you want to be in these films, right? And so, and she does not think that's going to work for Larry. I don't think it is either. I don't think Larry could do that. Even though he thinks he might be able to, I don't think he can. And so anyways, so I'm not sure if he's actually going to be in one of her next films. It would be kind of an interesting storyline here to have the pimps actually turn into, and I don't know. I mean, he could even be, he could even be in the film with Darlene, like his own girl, right? So I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure if he's actually going to be in one. I don't think so. I think that was just kind of I don't know, but he seems serious. Like, that's the thing that kind of threw me, right? I'm like, okay, but he's probably joking at first. But he actually seemed genuine and serious about it. I don't think Candy even thought he was serious. But anyway, so I'm not sure what'll happen with that. I don't know if he's going to be in any of the films. But I thought it was worth mentioning because I just kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect Larry to say that. But anyways, I do really like where they're kind of taking the pimps, though, this season. With Cece being kind of, really controlling of Laurie. And now, seeing his kind of reaction and the way he's handling her fame. Right? Because that's something that these pimps in season 1 never, they had one girl that was popular on the streets. Well, that's totally different than what Laurie is getting right now, nominated for awards and stuff. So, it's really great to see Cece, and then Larry is kind of, a little bit below that, but he's trying to get his girls in the movies. So, a lot of stuff going on with the pimps, very dynamic here in this season. So we see Laurie, so she meets with the agent of that other girl on set that we met earlier in the episode, who was talking about how, this agent gets me sit-downs and all this stuff, you should go talk to her. So she goes and talks to the agent, and she says, the agent says to her, Cece is just going to drag you down, right? And she says that I can do a lot of good things for you, right? I can get you sit-downs, I can do this and all this for only 10% of what you make, right? And we can do all of these things together. We can make a lot of money together, is what she says. And in my opinion, what I'm thinking in this scene is, and Laurie is you can see it kind of on her face as well. She realizes that this is the truth, right? She realizes that she should be with this agent, right? And I think Laurie knows everything that she said. Like, it is all true. She knows it's the truth. But can she actually get out from under Cece? That's the question. And I don't think she can. I think she's in this position, and a bunch of these girls, right? A bunch of them, or if not all, well, not Candy, right? Because she never had one, but all these girls that are under these pimps are in such a tough position because, and you see with Laurie now, with her getting, fame, she has other avenues that are way better for her, but she's still stuck under Cece. And I don't know, like, if she decided to go with this agent, what would Cece do to her? Like, I don't know. I could even see Cece going to the point where, I don't know, maybe he kills her. I don't know, maybe quite that far, but he does something like that. Like, Cece is not a guy to really mess with, even though he doesn't, look huge and intimidating and all that. He's not the kind of guy that you want to mess with, as we saw in season 1. So, really tough position for Laurie here because she knows what the agent is telling her is the truth, and she knows she needs to get away from Cece, but she can't, or at least she doesn't know how to yet at this point. So that'll be something going forward that we'll be looking into as viewers, and seeing how Laurie and some of these other girls, possibly like Darlene, are going to be able to get out from under these pimps' control. Or if they're even able to. Maybe they are not, right? Maybe this is just kind of permanent for them until they're kind of done in the business. So anyways, that was just kind of an interesting scene. Again, I do think Laurie is understanding her, and she knows what she's saying is is the truth. But she doesn't really have a decision, or at least she can't make that decision right now. So yeah, anyways, then we get Alston at the very, towards the end of the episode here. We didn't see much of him in this one, but he did have a pretty big sequence here at the end. So he calls in a suspect for his case, with his, another guy from the station helps him out with a name. And so he gets this guy in there after some other guys, came in and they weren't really much help. And so he essentially, in this kind of interview or this deposition, or no, that's not right. Whatever. He calls the suspect in for questioning, right? The questioning. And so he essentially leads this guy. I don't remember his name. But anyways, so I just refer to him as the suspect, right? So he leads the suspect essentially into saying what he's telling him about the crime, which is interesting, right? So we see Alston kind of playing him a little bit here. So he's saying that, he was defending himself and that he feared for his life. He was stuck up against that door, right? He repeats that multiple times. And that is why he killed the other man, right? And it's also to note the man was much bigger than him, right? Alston is kind of leading him as we see. And Alston's saying, he was 240 pounds. You're a lot less than that. Were you scared of him, right? Like, he's trying to lead him into saying this, which is interesting because I really thought that Alston was kind of, the good guy who wouldn't kind of get involved with this kind of stuff and be an honest guy, right? But in this scenario, it doesn't seem like he's being totally honest. It seems like he's leading the suspect into this testimony. So yeah, so it's definitely an interesting thing here. And at first I was thinking, well, maybe it's just easier for Alston, right? If this is the case and he was acting in self-defense, well, that's a lot easier of a case to solve. It is essentially solved after that, and he can kind of put that stamp on it and be done with it, right? But this, I think, is the reason. So then the governor's assistant, I think that's who it is, or the mayor's assistant, guy that we met last episode, comes down to the station to ask about what Alston found, right? And he says, I heard you concluded that case. What did you find, right? Like, what happened? And Alston essentially, says that, you guys are trying to protect tourists from New York, but what really happened here is that New York has to protect itself from the tourist, right? And that this man was responsible for his own death, essentially, because this guy acted out of self-defense. And so in this case, he's totally proving the man wrong, right? And he's contradicting exactly what the mayor and this guy is trying to paint this picture of New York as, right? As a dangerous place for tourists. And Alston is saying, well, New York's a dangerous place because of these tourists, right? Because of this guy that tried to kill this other guy, right? And backed him into a corner and in his car. So, that's why I think he did it. I think that's why, because I think he's more loyal to the city and New York and kind of, the station, rather than the mayor or whatever in the story that they're trying to paint here. So that's what I got out of that scene, at least. It was a little bit confusing for me, especially because I thought, Alston is a stand-up guy. He's an honest, genuine guy. And I was just a little bit surprised at the approach he took at this one. But anyways, that's what I found. I just thought that it was the perfect situation to prove the man wrong. It's exactly what he was able to do with this result. So anyways, that's what I got. And then we go to the very end of the episode here. This was really great. This was awesome. So Abby slips out of the bar all of a sudden from Vincent. Vincent's like ready to go to dinner. And she says, this is really important. Something's come up. I got to go. So she just, runs out of there. And Vincent's like, what? Go where? Right? So he's confused. But it makes sense to us. So she goes to a meeting at the church, I guess nearby. And it's the street outreach meeting. And so there's a little sign there pointing downstairs. So she goes on downstairs to this meeting. And it seems as though they're talking about the problem with the industry and kind of the streets, I guess, right? The problem with the streets and these emporiums and everything that's popping up with these girls, right? And so this is really awesome. We get a little bit into it and we're like, what's going on here, right? We don't really understand the whole picture. And then we get it. We see the girl from last season. I totally forget her name right now. I forget her name. But anyways, she is the one who in season 1 was able to escape the world, right? Or escape the business and get away from the pimps, right? And she was the only one who kind of, was able to do it, even though she was really the only one to try to do it, right? And she was actually successful. So this was really great. And I could be wrong, but I think Abby was the one who bought her bus ticket or something like that. I think Abby helped her escape. Anyway, so she was able to escape from last season, and she is back, right, in this meeting environment. So it looks like she's even maybe leading the meeting here. So this was really awesome, right? And so we see that she's advocating for these girls, right, to either get out of the industry or at least be safer, more safe doing it, right? So she's obviously advocating for these girls. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because she was in their situation before, and she was able to escape, right? So she's kind of a lucky one in this, and so she's trying to help out now. So this was a really awesome little reveal at the end. She is hardly recognizable. I mean, she looks a lot different from when she did in season 1. I guess, again, that's like 3 or 4 years ago, so it makes sense. Anyways, really great reveal. That is the end of the episode there, and that music plays. It's so damn catchy, by the way. I'm not going to try to do an impression, but anyways, really catchy music anyways. So yeah, great reveal at the end of the episode here. So she's back, and maybe her and Abby are going to be working together now. That would be really cool to see. I'm not sure, but I'm really looking forward to where they take her character and the impact that she's going to have going forward. If she's actually ever going to meet the pimps again, I have a feeling probably not. She's probably going to want to stay away as far as she can from them, because I don't think they'd be too happy if they found out that she was in the city after she escaped. So anyways, guys, that'll just about do it for the recap of this episode. So in terms of a rating for this one, I'm going to give it a 4.7 out of 5. Like I said, I gave it the same score as last week's episode, but again, I feel like last week's episode was a great premiere episode, but I felt like this one was a better overall episode. Just some more things happened. It's just pretty much as simple as that. So things are getting set in motion here with Rudy and the mob, which I love to see. I really like that storyline coming back. So we know that Paul wants out, right? So he's kind of wanting out. He's kind of shifting into his own kind of thing here where he wants to get out from under the mob. And also we see that Bobby near the end of the episode feels very unhappy because it seems as though Rudy and the mob are not doing enough to basically make sure that his emporium is, going to continue making business and being the best one on the block kind of thing, right? They're letting these other ones go up, near them, right? From other groups who are responsible for those ones, right? And so Bobby's not happy with this. He feels like the competition is not good for his business, so he's unhappy too. So anyways, things are getting set in motion here, and both of them are kind of going to Vincent right at once at the end of the episode here, really unhappy with Rudy and Tommy. So is something going to happen, right? Are they going to kind of, fight back maybe in this season? Could be, right? That would be interesting. But anyways, so some things getting put in motion in this episode. That was good. Really nice to see all the players in the episode again, right? Pretty much every character was in this one. And I would say had a significant part, honestly. And then we even get the reveal of the girl from last season coming back. So yeah, it was really great. I really felt like they covered every character and at least gave them somewhat of a story or somewhat development in this episode. And, with an hour runtime, you're able to do that, right? You're able to do that a little bit easier. But, I just thought it was really great, and of course characters have different amounts of screen time and different amounts of development in, per episode, of course, right? But yeah, no, it was really great to see them all. And yeah, like I said, great reveal at the end of the episode there, bringing her back. That was awesome. We'll have to see what kind of part she plays and how big that part is going to be in this season and just kind of going forward in the show. So, for sure. Anyways, favorite character for this one is going to be Candy or Eileen. I refer to as Candy. I just find it easier to say. And Maggie Gyllenhaal, right? Playing Candy. Her characters, like I said in the last review, probably gone through the most change throughout these, 2 seasons here, at least what we've seen from season 2 so far. And she's great. I mean, the character is great. Maggie Gyllenhaal is great. She's doing an amazing job as Candy in the show. And so we'll have to see where Candy goes. She also had that meeting with the director in this episode, who's kind of a famous or so director, right? And she was getting tips from her. So could she be going off on her own soon and making movies like that and trying to become that type of director? Could be. I really think she would have it in her to kind of get up to that level, right? Kind of, make her own, go of it. So anyways, I think that's kind of what they're building up to, and I think that would be really great for Candy's character. Again, one of my favorite scenes of this episode was when she had lunch with her son there in that scene. A short one, but I thought it was really good. So, anyways, Maggie Gyllenhaal doing a hell of a job along with the rest of the cast. Really great job, as always, in this episode. So, anyways, guys, I'll just about conclude the review for this week for the Deuce Season 2, Episode 2. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season here. I think Season 2 is going to be really, really great. Might even be better than Season 1. And I thought Season 1 was really great. And so, yeah, we'll have to see. I do feel like the pace is already picking up in this episode from Episode 1. So, let's see what happens. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this one. Thanks so much for your support on the channel. I do really, really appreciate it. We're growing a lot. I think we're almost at 180 subscribers now. So that's really great. Just in the last couple of days, been gaining, a lot of them. So, just a lot of support in general. So I do really, really appreciate that, as always. So thank you, guys. Anyways, again, thanks so much for watching this review, and I will see you next week for The Deuce, Season 2, Episode 3.